ITIL was first created around the idea of how to conduct service management within our organizations, so it should be no surprise that we have a specific definition of what is considered a service. The definition of a service is something you should be able to recall for the exam, as well as understand it. According to ITIL 4, a service is a means of enabling value co-creation by facilitating outcomes that the customer wants to achieve without that customer having to manage the specific costs and risks. Now, let's dig into this definition one piece at a time. First, service is a means of enabling value co-creation. This portion of the definition is a reference back to how value is determined as a result of the relationship between the provider of the service and the customer of the service. Next, the second portion of the definition says that this is done by facilitating outcomes that customers want to achieve. Again, this goes back to the concept of value. If I'm giving you something as a service provider that doesn't help you as the customer to achieve your objectives, well, then it doesn't have any value. So going back to the earlier example of this course, if it doesn't help you pass your certification exam, then the value hasn't been co-created. After all, the service provider can't achieve your objectives for you. You have to achieve them yourself. The service provider is only able to facilitate the achievement of those customer outcomes. After all, you have to pass the exam. I can only provide you with the tools and the resources you need to be successful. The same holds true with IT services. I can ensure your computer is up and able to run a program, but if you don't provide the necessary inputs to that program, you're going to be unable to get the necessary outputs and eventually the outcomes you desire. Now, the final portion of the service definition states that this co-created value is created without the customer having to manage specific costs and risks. This refers to the whole reason why a customer hires a service provider in the first place. For example, I'm a customer of a web hosting company that hosts all of my training videos. So my organization pays this web hosting company a monthly fee for hosting terabytes of video files for us. And in exchange for that service, we pay them a nominal monthly fee. It's their job as the service provider to manage all the specific costs and risks associated with that service. For example, our contract allows for unlimited data storage on their servers and unlimited bandwidth to be used without incurring any additional cost to us under our contract because we negotiate a fixed fee contract. Now, my company employs a lot of very technical folks. I personally have been responsible for running hundreds of web servers, domain controllers, mail servers, and file servers throughout my career. So why doesn't Dion Training maintain and host our own web servers to host all of our video training courses? Well, simply put, we don't want to have to deal with the costs and the risks of providing that particular service. It just isn't the business that we're in anymore, right? Instead, we're focused on training. Our business is all about training, not running these large server farms. So we don't want to have to deal with the patching, the updating, the backups, scaling up and scaling down based on load demands, and all of that. Instead, for a negotiated flat fee with our service provider, we can take all of those costs and risks from us, and we can simply pay our contracted rate, and the service provider gets to deal with it. This is exactly what the service definition is referring to. So let's take a look at that service definition one more time. A service is a means of enabling value co-creation by facilitating outcomes that customers want to achieve without the customer having to manage specific costs and risks. So in addition to services, a service organization can actually provide services based on products that they have as well. Now, a product is a configuration of an organization's resources that's designed to offer value for a consumer. I like to think of this as a collection of services that we put together to give more value than they could individually. Now, every organization works with a set of resources. These resources are either owned by the organizations, belong to the organization, or are managed by the organization. These resources may even be supporting services provided by the organization's suppliers and their partners. These resources can be leased or rented. These resources could even be the people who work in an organization under a contractual agreement because these people are a resource to the organization too. Now, the way an organization configures all those resources into a set offering is the essence of a product. For example, Amazon Web Services, or AWS, has a lot of different service offerings, including server hosting under their EC2 brand, file storage under S3, domain name server systems under Route 53, and many others. But these services, they aren't necessarily considered products. Now, if you compare these individual services with the Amazon Lightsail product, you can see how Amazon has combined their EC2, their S3, and their Route 53 services into a single product that can be sold directly to a customer in a defined configuration. Everything that makes up Lightsail is available as a service individually from AWS, but when combined under the Lightsail product, Amazon removed a lot of the complexity and confusion associated with that typical new customer's journey into the AWS and into cloud computing. So I know we covered a lot in this lesson, but there's two key definitions that we covered that you need to know. First is service. A service is a means of enabling value co-creation by facilitating outcomes that the customer wants to achieve without the customer having to manage those specific costs and risks. And the second one is a product. A product is simply a configuration of an organization's resources designed to offer value for a consumer. Keep those two definitions in your head because you're going to need them come test day.